Looking to do something dramatically different for your fantasy draft? Go to Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. From now through week 1 of the regular season, you'll get 18 holes of golf, a private dining room for your fantasy draft, plus nachos, wings, non-alcoholic beverages, and you'll save $1 on all premium liquor and draft beer. Packages start as low as $75 a person. Yes, I said golf at Whirlwind and draft your fantasy team while eating the best wings in the city. If you're interested, just email me, Doug@DougFranzUnplugged.com, and have everybody else look at your draft board and feel the wind.
Thanks for listening, Unplugged Army. I'm Louis Unga, General Manager at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. We're proud to present Doug Franz Unplugged.
Form an offense.
Form an offense.
4 minutes.
Form an offense. Form an offense.
Everything you need to know in sports that affects Maricopa County, the state of Arizona, and the world, you get in 4 minutes. We start things off in West Milwaukee. Diamondbacks a winner 3-2 in an outstanding ball game. Ryan Nelson went 6 innings and only gave up 2 earned runs. Andrew Salfrank came in and got a 5-out save.
It's been awesome, right? Tori giving me the ball and trusting me with it. And really trusting like most of the guys, right? I don't think there's been a quick trigger on really anybody. Just a really good win. I mean, all around, it's like you just got to smile when you win a game like this.
Geraldo Perdomo, Pavin Smith, Adrian Del Castillo, and Alec Thomas all had 2 hits, with Perdomo and Blaze Alexander handling all the RBIs with 2 home runs. Getaway day before a trip to L.A., Nabil Krismat goes for the D-backs. He's 1-0 with only a 1 ERA and a 1.22 whip in his 9 innings pitched. Jose Quintana goes for Milwaukee. He's 10-4 with a 3.32 whip. He'll throw the first pitch at 11:10 this morning. Cardinals coach Jonathan Gannon says the roster is still fluid. Could be some trades, could be some players moving to the injured reserve list, and there are still spots available on the practice squad. As it stands now, Clayton Tune is now a Packer. Return man DJ Dallas is now a Panther. However, the Cardinals were able to return Simi Fehoko, Elijah Simmons, Michael Carter, Darren Hall, and Andre Bocelli to the practice squad. One of the more shocking decisions was Bam McKnight making the 53-man roster over Michael Carter. Head coach Jonathan Gannon, what'd you see in Bam?
Throughout the course of training camp, he does what he's coached to do. He's a good runner. I like where he's at on 4th down. So his role is kind of still being defined as we speak, putting everybody together and things like that. But he did a lot of good things. We felt really good about keeping him.
Cardinals will practice today, take the rest of the weekend off, and get at it on Monday to get ready for the trip to New Orleans. The 2025 season kicks off September 7th. Well, we're only 2 days away from the start of the season for ASU and UofA. Kenny Dillingham says it doesn't matter that it's NAU. There's going to be nothing vanilla about this game plan.
There's no holding back. There is no hiding. We're going to play a football team that was ranked top 25 in their league. They played in the playoffs. They return a lot of their starters. They have a good football coach, good staff. We're holding nothing back. We're going all in.
Devils start the season at home against NAU Saturday night. Kickoff 7 o'clock. UofA Athletic Director Desiree Reed-Francois met with the media. Nobody asked her directly, is Brent Brennan on the hot seat? However, she offered this assessment of her head coach.
One thing I really appreciate about Coach Brennan is the culture that he's building. Those young men, they feel seen. They feel a sense of belonging. They feel a connection that is really special. UofA Hawaii in Tucson Saturday night, kickoff 7:30. Matt Ishbia has been sued again. When Robert Sarver originally sold the team, 14 of the 16 co-owners all sold to Matt Ishbia. The 2 that still own a piece of the Suns are suing because they say they don't have access to internal records. According to the suit obtained by ESPN and the Arizona Republic, they're mainly upset about the $100 million basketball practice facility for the Phoenix Mercury. Speaking of which, Mercury are home tonight against Chicago. The Mercs in 4th place, but if they win, they'll pass Atlanta and enter into 3rd place. Chicago's tied for last. Tip-off tonight, downtown, 7 o'clock. The U.S. Ryder Cup team already has Scotty Scheffler, J.J. Spawn, Xander Schauffele, Russell Henley, Harris English, and Bryson DeChambeau. Yesterday, U.S. team captain Keegan Bradley named the 6 captain's picks.
Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Ben Griffin, Cameron Young, Patrick Cantlay, Sam Burns.
The interesting name not on there, his own. Bradley is the 8th best American
American as ranked by the World Golf Rankings, and he's the 11th best American in Ryder Cup points, but didn't call his own name as one of the top 12 American golfers. And finally, meet Abdul Kadir Yuraloglu. He posted videos to Twitter of him driving on a Turkish highway at speeds of close to 140 miles an hour. What does he do for a living? He works in the Turkish government as the transportation minister. Of course, he posted a deep, heartfelt apology and admitted that due to his post, he was given a fine of 9,200 Turkish lira, which is about $170. He says, quote, "I took to the wheel to check the Ankara-Nidji highway and unintentionally exceeded the speed limit for a short period." Wait, dude, I love that line. You unintentionally. At what point when you're going 137 miles an hour is it unintentional? I have to ask, what do you do when you intentionally speed then? When he posted the original video, he used the hashtag Turkey accelerates. Oh, Turkey accelerates, but they do it unintentionally at 140 miles an hour. He finished his tweet with, quote, "I will be much more careful from now on. Sticking to the speed limit is mandatory for everyone." Thanks, Abdul Kadir. The most heartbreaking part of this story is that we never get to ask Abdul Kadir, have you ever spent time in a Turkish prison?
The reason why I always say that Bell's is not your typical country bar with mediocre bar food is because our kitchen is truly a scratch kitchen. From every single sauce that we make, to every dish, to the beef that we have come in, to the seafood that we have brought in each day, every single dish is handcrafted. We don't have microwaves, so you're tasting that quality the minute that it hits the table.
Bell's Nashville Kitchen on Main Street in Old Town Scottsdale.
You found home, down home.
I would like to congratulate you on something that you did not do that will benefit all other members of the Unplugged Army. Yesterday, you successfully did not win Powerball. It's over $950 million now, and I promise I will win it on Saturday. And of course, I share it with the Army. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever it is that you've decided to make Doug Franz Unplugged a part of your day, my family greatly appreciates it. My name is Doug Franz, and you have found the only podcast in the world totally devoted to the coverage of the 4 major sports franchises of one great American city that drops on your phone each and every weekday morning. We also cover ASU, UofA, GCU, the Rattlers, the Rising, and the Merc. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. How are you? Yes, Powerball is $950 million on Saturday. Now, someone from Ohio won $2 million. Dad, where are you? Come on now. Had to be you, Dad. Had to be you. There's a $1 million winner that's in Arizona. So I hope that that's a member of the Unplugged Army. Please let us know where we're going, whether you've decided to celebrate a trophy or Bell's Nashville Kitchen, which is located on Main Street in Old Town Scottsdale, or are you taking us to, I'm going to A Mountain, now I have the name of the place confused. I'm going to 100 Mile Brew tomorrow for the VABC get together. So if you want to celebrate afterwards, your 1 million, that's fine. But I will be winning the 950 million on Saturday. And as I've always told you, if there's ever a day that I say everybody in the Unplugged Army meet at Bell's for an emergency meeting, it's because I've won Powerball, and the government allows you to give $10,000 to somebody without you having to pay taxes on it. So I would just call a meeting, and then everybody at the meeting gets $10,000. That's it. Or $9,999, whatever the law is. Like, I will fly my, what do you call it? Financial advisor dude. I will fly him out here, and he will
just hold court at the bar and just write out $10,000 checks to everybody. Everybody that's there gets one. However, I'm buying out the restaurant, so Mikey will technically get more because he would get money for the buyout for the business and then an individual for $10,000. And you can flood the place. Like, I know, like, if I ever said emergency meeting at Bell's, I know full well that Mikey would have 19 members of his family there. Who's Doug? Don't worry about it. Just stand here. We would do that in a heartbeat. We would do that in a heartbeat, and I would not only give you $10,000, but I'd have a free dinner and a buyout night, free beer. It'd be a hilarious time. Hilarious time. We'd have a great time. But that would, at $950 million, the podcast would take on a very strange tone. You thought I was unplugged before. I get $950 million. Because who else is going to corner me in a press box then? Oh, let's have some fun. One of the things that I've recently discovered that we've never thought about once we fully invent the flux capacitor is from the begin. When we go back in time and study things from the beginning of time until I'm assuming about the 1950s. I don't know when Americans started our constant showering. But from the beginning of time until the 1950s, do we have any concept of how bad people smell? It's probably something I should not admit. Like right now, my wife is cringing if she's listening. For the first time since I was about 9 years old, I don't remember when it was in my life that I became kind of a shower nut. I don't talk about this, but I shower every day. And since I normally will either work out on the Peloton or I'll do something else, I don't do it as much anymore now that I think of it. But it used to be when I was employed, I would shower 2 or 3 times a day. And it was like I always showered in the morning. And then I would take a nap. And then I would always shower when I got up from my nap. And then normally at some point after my nap, I would do something sweaty and I would shower when I got home. So almost always 3 showers a day, but every day there was one. Right now, I showered before I left for Mass. It's Thursday morning and I haven't showered since. I haven't gotten on the bike this week, which is a total disrespect to Dr. Fred. I'm really frustrated with myself that I didn't get on the bike. And I've been doing good too. I've been getting a lot better. I went through, I was on fire after Dr. Fred died. Then I fell on my face for a little bit. And then I never got back on fire, but I was doing well. And then boom, now I'm falling off the bike again and I need to get back on. So I haven't biked. I haven't golfed. I haven't went anywhere. I've just been sitting either in my chair upstairs watching games or sitting here at my new desk working on the future of the video side of the podcast. And that's all I've been doing, or sleeping. So I've never showered. I don't know why. I just never have. And all of a sudden today, man, I reek. I mean, every crevice is just awful right now. And it was kind of funny. Jennifer came home last night and I hugged her and said hello. And she said, wow. that was all it was. It was just, wow. Like I was some kind of science project. I said, what? You haven't showered. I didn't say, yeah, since Sunday morning. I got a dermatology appointment today, so I will be showering. Yeah, I have a dermatologist about, gosh, I don't remember when it was, 10, 12 years ago or so. Probably not that long, maybe about 8 years ago.
There was a spot on my back. We have it checked out, and it's whatever. It was skin cancer, but it was whatever the form of skin cancer is that's very localized, and it's just, let's just hack it out and be done with it. So whatever it's called that's important but small is what I had. And the doctor gave me the greatest line ever. He said, there's a 100% chance of recovery and a 100% chance of pain. And you never have any idea how many people pat you on the back in life. And I don't mean, hey, take a pat on. No, I just mean legitimately touch your back until you have had surgery removing something from said back. And it was, the spot was right between my shoulder blades, right where everybody touches. And you talk about 100% pain. Man, he was right. They had to dig down in there so deep. And then, I didn't take a day off of work. I went in, and then, I actually had a tea time afterwards, and I was told, no, you can't go golfing. And I realized after the surgery, no, I couldn't. I couldn't really turn my back very well. And then I had it done on a Friday, and then went back to work Monday, didn't miss a day. And then the dermatologist said, all right, I'll see you once a year for the rest of your life. I'm like, all right. So that's today. The good news on the VABC event coming up Friday, tomorrow, it's already sold out. It's already sold out for lunch. So with Graham Rossini doing such a great job, that's full. However, of course, the restaurant is not sold out. So the event's from about 11 to 1, and afterwards, I'm just going to go across the way and get a beer. However, I don't know how long I'll be there, and here's why. They usually, I don't get paid to MC the event, but they usually just keep feeding me beer because they know how I feel about it. Well, I'm going to be there for 2 hours. If they give me, if I have over 3 beers, not over 3, if I have 3 beers, I'm basically done because I'm not driving home after that. So then I can't go over and meet you for a beer. I mean, I'll still come over and talk with you, but I'll be drinking water. But if I only have 1 beer, well, then I'll stay for a couple beers. So just know that I want to talk to you. I want to see you, but don't mock me if I'm getting water because I don't know how much I will be drinking beforehand. Keep in mind, if you never heard the story, I want to get the show moving, so I don't want to get too much into story time. But depending on your size, you just think 1 drink an hour. You get 1 drink an hour, and the body will be able to flush it out. And I mean a hard hour. Don't drink 1, 2, and then say, okay, it's a hard hour. 1 drink, and then you don't have another one until the hour is over from when you had your first, when you basically completed. So it's not like have a beer at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and then finish it at 1:30 and then have another one at 2 and say, well, I'm fine. No, it's an hour after you finish the last one. So please always be careful. Very important. I love joking about drinking. I love beer. I would have it at every meal if I could, but there comes a level of responsibility. Sorry to get on the soapbox. I just care about you. And rest of my weekend's pretty set. I'll see you Saturday on 12 News, and then I have no idea if I'm on Sunday. I forget. I think that's it. That's it for my life. Hopefully you're set. It's time for Doug's Big One. It's my number 1 opinion of the day. Let's roll. Doug.
Where's Doug? Here, sorry, Doug. Where are you at?
Yeah, was that a plug to unplug right there? That was smooth.
Obviously, Franz is such a good player.
Doug's Big One.
I want to thank Tony Finau for being my favorite golfer since he dislocated his ankle at the Masters and then popped it back into place and still competed at the Masters. He did that in the par 3 contest on Tuesday and then somehow walked one of the hilliest courses in America for 4 days. He's been my favorite golfer ever since then, but that changed yesterday. Sorry to be a bandwagon dude. My favorite golfer is now Keegan Bradley. You don't know the story with Keegan Bradley. Right now, he is in 11th place in Ryder Cup points. So every time you play in tournaments, you collect Ryder Cup points depending on your success level. If you are in the top 6 positions in Ryder Cup points as an American, you make the Ryder Cup team. It doesn't matter how people feel about you. It doesn't matter if anybody likes you. It doesn't matter whether the captain likes you. You get the top 6, you're in. So that's already happened. The top 6 people are Scotty Scheffler, JJ Spawn, Xander Schauffele, Russell Henley, Harris English, and Bryson DeChambeau. The next 6 are captain's picks. So Keegan Bradley gets to choose who those people are. What's interesting is Keegan Bradley is actually 11th amongst Americans in Ryder Cup points. But he didn't choose himself. So you can imagine there's 6 fixed, 6 people have already been chosen, and then there's 6 that he gets to choose. Well, if he goes by points, he would choose himself. And he didn't choose himself. He went with Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Ben Griffin, Cam Young, Patrick Cantlay, and Sam Burns. Here's why he's my favorite golfer. In 2023, Zach Johnson was the team captain. And guess who was 11th in Ryder Cup points? Keegan Bradley. Just like he is this year. But Zach Johnson passed him up and chose Sam Burns, Justin Thomas, and Ricky Fowler, 3 golfers who were all lower in the standings. And oh, by the way, Europe beat the U.S. so bad it was over well before some of the matches were even close to being done. It was done 16.5 to 11.5. You get a point for each victory, and you get a half a point when the guy split it. Meaning, for an example, if you have a tie score, if you're all square at the end of 18 or whatever. So 16.5 to 11.5. That's how bad they got beat. So think about it if you're Keegan Bradley. If you're any kind of competitor, don't you think you would have made a difference? Don't you think you would have been able to help push the line over? However, because Sam Burns now has experience in this, over possibly being picked incorrectly last time, Keegan Bradley chooses him this time. And Sam Burns is a better golfer than he was 2 years ago, but that's not the point. Keegan Bradley is one of the 12 best American golfers. I guarantee you Keegan Bradley desperately wanted to be on the Ryder Cup team. But once he was named captain, now he's not deciding, am I one of the 12 best golfers, American golfers, for the Ryder Cup team? He's kind of deciding, am I so indispensable that I can do both, be the captain and golf? And he decided, my team is strong enough. My team is stronger if I'm focused on being captain. I think that is so unbelievably selfless. Such leadership. And I realize you might be thinking, Doug, I don't really care this much about Ryder Cup. First of all, even if you don't love golf, if you watch Ryder Cup, you will love Ryder Cup. But even if there's nothing I can do to get you to care about golf. Think about a guy that was snubbed 2 years ago. Wanted to be on that team, wanted to play on this team, but making what he decides to be the best decision for the team. I don't know about you. That's he would have been well within his right to choose himself. Rory McIlroy even said about 2 weeks ago or last week, I don't know what he's going to do, but he's definitely one of the 12 best American golfers. Here is Keegan Bradley on when asked about not choosing himself.
So I was The decision was made a while ago that I wasn't playing. The last 48 hours, we had the team set. We weren't scrambling at all. This was a really tough decision. I would say there was a point this year where I was playing a while ago, and all these guys stepped up in a major way and played their way onto this team. And that's something that I'm really proud of and something that I really wanted. But it was an extremely difficult decision, and but one that I'm really happy with. And I'm really happy with these 6 players, and I'm glad it's over.
Then he was asked a strange follow-up question. If Keegan Bradley was not the captain of this team, would Keegan Bradley be on this team?
How are we ever going to know that? Because I am the captain. But I grew up wanting to play Ryder Cups. I grew up wanting to fight alongside these guys, and it broke my heart not to play. Really did, because you work forever to make these teams. But ultimately, I was chosen to do a job. I was chosen to be the captain of this team. And my ultimate goal to start this whole thing was to be the best captain that I could be. And this is how I felt like I could do this. If we got to this point and I felt like, the team was better with me on it, I was going to do that. I was going to do whatever I thought was best for this team. And I know 100% for certain that this is the right choice. And these 6 guys, again, played so incredibly coming down the stretch here and made my decision a lot easier.
Something you've wanted your whole life that's out of your control until it is in your control. And you decide that's not what's best. Keegan Bradley. My number one opinion today is he is my number one golfer. And that's Doug's big one. Okay, live demonstration of how easy it is to use the Santan Ford mobile unit. Santan. As soon as I wrote Santan Ford's website popped up. There's a service number right there, so I could call 480-856-8921. Let's go. But right under the tabs, there's just mobile service tab. And then it says mobile service, schedule service. Let's click on schedule service. Schedule your service. Start with your phone or your email. Sign in with Google. I'll just hit that. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Yep. Dun, dun, dun. There you go. I mean, I don't need it. I don't need an oil change, but I'm already in the scheduler. How simple is that? So next time you're within 20, if you're already a local near Santan Ford, they'll come over to your house and take care of it. If you're not local, where did that voice come from? Not local. If you're not local, then just simply schedule it the next time that you're within 25 miles of the dealership, and they'll come to you. So if your kid has a game out there, if you're visiting somebody, if you have an appointment out there, wherever you are near the dealership, they'll come to you, change your oil, you're on your way. Very simple. At Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista, santanford.com. I am Santan Ford. Don't know if you agree with the order of things. For me, I'm already jacked up about ASU and UofA. I'm really jacked up about tonight. Go Bobcats. But I'm jacked up for college football to get underway. I realize the ASU NAU game hopefully will not be a game. I'm a little shocked that Hawaii is a 17.5-point underdog. That does seem a little crazy that UofA is favored that much. I think UofA is going to win, but by that much, I'm still kind of eyeballing that game for a potential versus Vegas tomorrow of taking Hawaii with the points. But I think the Cardinals news has mostly died down. We're still certainly talking Cardinals today, but I'm going ASU, UofA, then I'm going D-backs, and then I'm going with the Cardinals. ASU takes on NAU, and I played this for you from Kenny Dillingham in the 4-minute offense. You know, I'm sorry how much I drink the Kool-Aid of Kenny Dillingham. I admit to you, I see a better version of myself in him. And I say that in like total humbleness. I hope that doesn't sound arrogant, because there are so many aspects of our personalities that are similar. He's just better at everything I want to be.
And I just love the way he communicates and the way he puts things. And he says things that so many other coaches either are afraid to say and they mean it, or think we're so stupid we can't handle it, or think they know more than everybody else in the world. Kenny does know more than almost anybody else in the world in football and doesn't act like it. For an example, he was asked this question about holding things back, beating NAU, but making sure your future opponents don't see anything that can help them.
We'll put everything on tape. Both our coordinators, same thing. We want to win. We want to do everything we can to play our best football and win the football game. There's no holding back. There is no hiding. We're going to play a football team that was ranked top 25 in their league. They played in the playoffs. They returned a lot of their starters. They have a good football coach, good staff. Like, we're holding nothing back. We're going all in. Everything we've worked on this offseason, we're putting it all in to go try to play the best football game we can. Yeah, there is no holding back.
The hypocrisy of so many other coaches is amazing to me. How many other coaches would be sitting here saying to all of their players and to everybody in the media, oh, this is a tough opponent. They do this, they do this, they do this. And then at the same time, they come out with the most vanilla game plan. When you do that, you know what you're really doing? You're telling your team that your opponent isn't worth your best. If you're not willing to put forth the best game plan, why do you think your players are going to put forth their best effort? And then you're shocked when Appalachian State beats Michigan. You're shocked at the great upsets that happen in week one. When you decided, I want my players to play as hard as they can, but I don't want my coaches to coach as hard as they can. That's what you're saying. And here's Kenny Dillingham saying, we're not holding anything back. It's about, and if you truly say, how many times does a coach say, it's about us? Well, it's about us. Well, if it's truly about you, why are you afraid to put stuff on tape? Why are you afraid for the other team to see what you do? Because if it's about you, then execute your plays. And don't worry about what the other team is thinking or doing. It's the simple things like that. No coach says that except Kenny Dillingham. And now you see why the players don't have letdowns under Kenny Dillingham. Even in the 3-win season, I don't think they had letdowns. They were bad. They had bad, I don't want to say bad players as if they're bad kids. That sounds bad. They had players that weren't Power 4 level players. The program was destroyed by Ray Anderson and Herm Edwards. The reason why I say that is partially because they weren't good at their jobs, but partially because the really inept way that ASU handled the investigation dragged it out so long that players didn't want to come here. And rightfully so. Why would you want to when you don't know what the future of the program is? And so Kenny has bottom of the barrel talent. He wins 3 games. He has a year and a half to improve the culture and the players. Big 12 champs. I mean, just that dramatic of a change. And now you just in that statement, you can see why. It's always bothered me. It's kind of like that argument where a lot of young people say they work as hard as their salary. You know, if you want me to work harder, pay me more. That opinion. I mean, you're dog lazy if that's who you think you are. You know? You don't work to the point of, well, I get paid this much, so I work that hard. You give your employer the best you've got. If they, in turn, are not giving you the best they've got, I don't mean making you the highest paid person, but I mean treating you with respect, always looking for opportunities to generate more revenue for the company, that it can be given to you if you are earning it, and they don't run their company that way,
then that's one of the reasons why I love the Unplugged Army. I want us getting together and finding you somewhere else to go. Getting you the respect that you deserve as an individual and financially. That's why I want everybody going to Unplugged Army events. I want you introducing yourself to people. Hi, who are you? Oh, who are you? Okay. And we share each other's opportunities, and you think, you know what? I know so-and-so. He might be able to have your services. Something like that. And that's exactly what Kenny Dillingham, in a sense, is doing here. We're going to give NAU our best because that's what we always want to do, irrelevant of the person. So then the follow-up is the question that we talked about yesterday that was asked to Marcus Arroyo, and that is, are you looking at this as a trap game, or do you see it similar as Coach Arroyo did?
Yeah, I don't think about that because I think about us. Like, we want to be, I challenge our guys, like, I want to see what this team is. I want to see who we are on Saturday. Like, it doesn't matter who we play, it's about us, and I want to see who we are. How hard do we play? How physical do we play? How many smart decisions do we make throughout a game? And that's the challenge, and it always will be. It's not the opponent, it's us.
I believe in that brutal honesty so much. How can you get better if you're not honest with yourself? If we lose to NAU because it was a trap game, we never deserved to win it in the first place. That's kind of the mentality that he's explaining. Because if you think about it, if you disrespect the game to the point that it doesn't deserve your best, you really didn't want to win that bad to begin with. And if you don't really want to win that bad to begin with, why are you even pretending to work as hard as you are? Gosh, it's a great opinion. Okay, the last one from Kenny Dillingham that I thought was important is somebody asked a strange question. I didn't quite understand it, but it was something about how many starting lineups the team has. Or like starters. Like it might have listed something like 25 starters or 26 starters. Something like that. Whether it be the offense had something like, there's 11 guys on the field, but it had something like 15 starters, and the defense had maybe 13 starters. So the question was, why, how does your depth work? How do you feel about your depth when you're claiming that many starters?
The depth of a football team is better, and obviously it's a huge positive. You can have more sub-packages on offense, more sub-packages on defense, make teams prepare for more things. When you have, you can line up in 12, you can line up in 20, you can line up in 21, you can line up in dime, you can line up in quarter if you wanted to. You can put 5 D tackles on the field. So when you do that, you can really have a wrinkle each week and throughout game weeks that people aren't prepared for.
This is where we can really get into some football conversations, because it is true now. You have about maybe 15 starters. And you hear the term sub-package, which is almost a misnomer now. I mean, it'll always be called sub-packages because it's just easier to say that. But what that means is a sub-package is basically when you're not in base. But what's funny is nobody's in base. Nobody's in base. Base is the old school concept of one wide receiver on the left, one wide receiver on the right, a tight end, 2 running backs, primarily a fullback and a halfback, a tailback. And then the defensive side is a 4-3 or a 3-4. Most people used to play a 4-3, but a 4-3 or a 3-4 up front, 2 safeties in the middle, and 2 corners to guard their 2 wide receivers, and that's it. Well, then, a little bit with my old Washington Redskins of the 80s, when you had a decent pass-catching tight end in Clint Didier and Art Monk as a wide receiver, Gary Clark, Ricky Sanders, you started seeing what was called 11 personnel. Now, the number 11 has nothing to do with it. It's not 11. It's a 1 and a 1. But we say 11. And the first number represents the number of running backs. The second number represents the number of tight ends. So it's kind of funny if you're ever watching a game and you really don't know football all that well. If you see there's only one guy standing behind the quarterback, and then you look out and you see 3 wide receivers, just blurt out, boy, it's interesting they're going 11 personnel here. The room of people will go, what? Wait, what? And all you did was count. But that's awesome, you know? You just crushed it. Nice job. But that's what sub is. And then on the defensive side, since you had teams that were switching to mostly going with 3 wide receivers, well, then they decided, well, we need 3 cornerbacks. So we'll go in nickel. The reason why it's called nickel is there's 5 of you, 5 defensive backs, 2 safeties. You took a linebacker off the field, and then you put in a new corner. So now that's 5 defensive backs. So that's the nickel. I've never known why, and if you know this, I'd love to know it. I've never known why it's called dime. A dime package is 6 defensive backs. I've always assumed, well, that's one more than a nickel. Not 1 cent more, but 1 coin more. Since it's the next coin after nickel, well, then we'll just call it a dime for 6 defensive backs. That's why I think it's called a dime, but I admit I don't know for sure. So those are all sub packages that you do. And then you start mixing it up a little bit where if it's not a run defense that you're really worried about, maybe you take your big 330-pound nose tackle out. You move your defensive end. It's called, he can play inside. He can move inside. He can be a 3-tech. Okay, that's code for you're taking a defensive end, but you're now moving him to the outside shoulder of the guard. You're kicking him inside because you're saying, if you try to run it, he can probably do okay. But we're assuming you're passing. So I'm going to put a guy that can kind of handle the run, but is so much faster than your guard and center can handle to rush from the middle. And then I'm going to bring in an even faster guy and put him on the outside as a defensive end. And that's my sub package that goes along with my nickel or dime. Things like that. So that's what that works. So when you hear Kenny Dillingham throw out those numbers, he said, we can start in 12, we can start in 20, we can start in 21. Those are the formations that have to do with the numbers I told you. 12 personnel. What is that? What's the first number? That's the number of running backs. So it's 1 back, 2 tight ends. Therefore, you can really screw it. The Cardinals are going to be great in 12 personnel. Tip Ryman is such an animal, you basically created a 6-man offensive line to block if you choose to run. So if the defense comes up and says, oh my gosh, they're in 12 personnel, we've got to stop the run. Well, now your other tight end is arguably the best pass-catching tight end in football. And now you're going to be able to get the ball to Trey and eat him alive. Plus, with Marvin Harrison being a strong dude now, I am guessing he'll be good at blocking in the run game or getting open in the pass game. Either one. So hopefully he's a dual threat as well. That's what 12 personnel is. Then you heard Coach say 20. Well, that's 2 backs, but no tight ends. The 0 is of 20 is for the tight end position. So you get 5 skill positions, not counting the quarterbacks. You have 5 linemen, 5 skill. Linemen hate that, by the way, because you're saying they don't have skill, and 1 quarterback. You can do whatever you want with the other 5 guys. So there is no number that's associated with the wide receivers. You just have the assumption. So 20 personnel, 2 backs, no tight ends. That leaves 3 other positions. So you've got an XYZ and more than likely a wide receiver in as the Y. So those are positions for the wide receiver. XYZ are actually positions for the wide receivers. Y is normally a tight end, but not always, and obviously never in 20 personnel. So you're saying I'm putting a faster player in there, I'm putting in a tight end. That's different than the XYZ affair, which is having everything to do with French diplomats wanting to take bribes under the table to stop attacking merchant ships. Long story there. So God bless Samuel Adams, though. Ha! Now that's funny. That shows you that was kind of Pavlovian there. I'll just tell you, I should just leave that hang so you don't know how dumb I was. But during the XYZ affair, John Adams was the president, but he doesn't brew beer, and Sam Adams does. So I said, God bless Sam Adams when I met his cousin. All right, my bad. Anyway, back to the personnel. Then I'm going everywhere today. I don't even have a beer with me. Then Kenny Dillingham went to, if we want to go dime, even if we want to go quarters. So quarter coverage, there's so many different things you can do in quarters coverage, but it's basically cover 4. Remember when we say cover and then the number afterwards? The way it's easy to remember is that simulating how many outfielders you have. Imagine a baseball diamond. If you're in cover 3, that's a regular outfield. You got a center fielder, you got a right fielder, you got a left fielder. Well, that's exactly what they're doing on the football field. Imagine a roulette table, but not the wheel, the table where you bet. There's 3 columns of numbers to bet on. Okay, if you didn't know that, if you'd never played roulette, there's 2 numbers at the top, the 0 and the 00. And then there are 36 numbers underneath it. And it just goes 1, 2, 3, and that's a row. 4, 5, 6, that's a row. 7, 8, 9, that's a row. Blah, blah, blah. All the way down to 36. So there's 3 columns. Well, in a cover 3, it's almost like you've laid the roulette table of betting down on the field. And the guy on the left is going to take any receiver that goes deep on the left side. The right column of numbers, that's the right safety over there. And then the middle of the field closed. The single safety high, well, he's not single if it's cover 3, but you know what I mean? The center fielder on defense, he's down the middle. So that's cover 3. Well, quarters is cover 4. So now I've got 4 guys dropping to make sure that nothing is going deep and they have this zone. However, you got linebackers that are going to guard underneath the quarters coverage and make sure that nobody gets open in the flat. The flat is the area of the field that's about 5 yards from the line of scrimmage to 5 yards up, but along the sidelines. That's the flat. So with the linebackers spread out and you're in quarters coverage, your strength is it's almost impossible to complete a deep ball when the other team's in quarters coverage. However, if you've got a good quarterback that trusts his eyes and can see, I see you're in quarters, get a pump fake to the flat to spread those linebackers out, you can easily get a tight end to be maybe 10 yards down the field for a first down, in which he runs down the field, cuts right behind the middle linebacker, but stays in front of each of the 4 safeties / corners who have dropped back into coverage. There's a window in there that you're going to be really open. And that's how you take advantage of quarters. However, if your quarterback isn't that great, doesn't recognize the quarters, well, he tries to take the flat and the linebacker's already there because the flat appears open, but if it's run correctly by the defense, it normally isn't. So that's what he meant by I can run quarter. And then he goes, I can go out with 5 defensive tackles. Well, that's to me is when he's screwing around. See, like nobody in the media laughed because I don't think they got it. I can do this. I can do this. I can run out 5 defensive tackles. Well, why in the world are you going to run out 5 defensive tackles? I mean, maybe goal line, okay, but you're not. That's not your starting line. The question was about starting. You're not going to start with 5 defensive tackles out there. That's when he's screwing with people's head. And it's kind of funny to me that he says that stuff and nobody gets it. It was good. As always, critiques accepted. That's why Town Hall Tuesday is there. When I go on those weird tangents about the game of football or truly any sport, if you find me entertaining and educational, then I'm not trying to be a jerk fishing for a compliment, then please encourage that because that's the whole heart of what I want in this show. If you find me to sound in any way arrogant, a know-it-all, or just too kindergartenish, well, then please tell me there, and I need to
need to improve my communication skills because I want to be educational about the show, but I don't want to be cheeseball about it either. And if it's just boring and hard to follow, well, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Because then I just lose you. And that's not fun for either of us. So please let me know. And I mean individually. I might get it. I might crush it 7 times in a row when I explain things. And the one time I fall on my face or you're bored out of your mind, how do I improve if you don't tell me? Right? So, I mean, I've never asked you to be a jerk. That's no fun. But I do want to know exactly how you feel when I go on those tangents. UofA started classes this week. I don't think they practice much. I don't have a lot for you UofA-wise. They did post a presser with Desiree Reed-Francois. And I got to tell you, if you're a UofA fan, I want to say this carefully because it sounds weird. I only pulled one quote from her because it's too hard to pull anything with the way that she speaks. Here's why I say that. She doesn't say anything that's soundbite worthy. I can't condense most of it. There's no way to condense it into even a 3-minute bite, which is, in the world of podcasting, I can get away with much longer things. But she will jump around all over the place. And it's just not conducive for me to pull and say, hey, here's what she thinks about this, because it takes too long or it's rambling. However, I'm not insulting her by saying that because she's a very, very intelligent woman, and you can tell that it's not the kind of rambling where you tune out. It's very interesting, but it takes so long sometimes to get to the point that I can't talk about it and pull it for you. So I would actually, if you're a UofA fan, I would highly encourage, I watched the whole presser. I'd highly encourage you to go to YouTube and watch her presser. I think you're going to feel great about her leadership and her stewardship. She talked about eliminating a $39 million debt by the end of this fiscal year. That sounded amazing. And the things that they're doing. I mean, if you're a UofA fan, I'm telling you, she sounded fantastic. But the only thing I felt when I was watching her that was negative is not at her, it was at the media. I wanted to hear point blank one question. Is Brent Brennan on the hot seat? And if she said no, I said I would ask, how does that change? What can happen during the season? What are your expectations? Because I, as a fan, if I'm a UofA fan, I want to have clear-cut goals set out for the football program. She made the decision Brent Brennan gets another year. Okay. What does he have to do to get a third year? Because I admit, I don't think this year is going to be very good. And I think it's on Brent Brennan. And heck, maybe I give Danny Gonzalez a shot. Maybe I think he's a little crazy to be head coach. But I really, if I'm hiring a new head coach, I want to go with an offensive guy because I want to tell the offensive guy, I don't want to lose Danny Gonzalez. I want him to remain our defensive coordinator. And sometimes that's not a good strategy because you don't get the best coach when you're telling him who his assistants are. But if you make it negotiable and you say, I want you to interview Danny Gonzalez, and if you decide not to keep him, if you're the best candidate, we're still going to hire you. But I got to tell you, I don't know who the right candidate is if they don't want Danny Gonzalez. That's how I would say it. So you can blow me away with who you're going to bring in, or I can interview them and find out, boy, that bodes well on you. We can talk about it. But I'm going into this interview with the idea that Danny Gonzalez is the best defensive coordinator for U of A. That's what I would say during an interview of my next head coach. But she did talk about Brent Brennan in her opening statement that lasted like 7 minutes. So I did cut that out for you if you're a U of A fan.
On a football front, I'm really proud of what Coach Brennan and the energy that he has built with that culture around this football program. He brought in 3 new coordinators. We brought back Joe Salavea, who is making a massive difference with our defensive line. We brought in 61 new student athletes, both transfers and freshmen. And he retained some really key components. When you have Noah Fafita guiding your team, when you have Genesis and you have Dalton and you have Stukes and you have those defensive veterans, you know what? We've got a really good chance. And one thing, Coach Brennan, when I was listening to him talk today about owning the night and bringing back making sure that our community feels welcome. And Tony Daniel is going to talk a little bit about the fun initiatives that we have. But one thing I really appreciate about Coach Brennan is the culture that he's building. Those young men, they feel seen. They feel a sense of belonging. They feel a connection that is really special.
Gosh, it sounds so feel good, but it just doesn't sound like football to me. I don't know. I mean, admittedly, I'm an ASU fan, so I don't want U of A to win. But you can't root against Brent Brennan, You can't hate on the guy. He's too nice of a guy. I promise you, he's a great chemistry teacher. But if you're a U of A fan, am I right? Why didn't the media ask the question? Is the man on the hot seat or not? What do you expect? I don't know why they missed that. All right, coming up next, let's do D-backs and then Cardinals on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. You know what time it is. It's summer in Arizona. You've got to have the Parker & Sons phone number ready to go. Air conditioning in Phoenix is too important to trust anybody but the best. Parker & Sons were recommended to us when we first moved here. That was 17 years ago. They've been on time every time. They've gotten it right the first time, every time. Call 602-2REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons.
Burrito Express started with my father about 25 years ago. He got laid off and decided that he needed to do something to provide for his family. My brother and I were older teens, 17, 18-year-old. I'm going to do a trial out of my house. So literally, we decided we're going to start out of his house. So we delivered menus in a square mile area, literally started delivering burritos out of our home in Mesa, Arizona. And after about a month, he said, let's do this. Went and found his first location. And believe it or not, that's how it started. We started with one location back in 1995. Now we're where we are now.
D-backs a winner in a really fun ball game, 3-2 last night. Couldn't help but notice that Ketel Marte did not play in the game and the Diamondbacks won. That could be considered a cheap shot. I don't think it is, but it could be considered one. Perdomo went 2 for 4, and he scored 2 of the 3 runs. He got a base hit in front of Alexander's 6th inning 2-run shot. And then Perdomo led off the 8th with a home run. And I got to tell you, Perdomo is really putting on a show right now. It's the only way that I can put it. And this is one of those things where I will always have this opinion that local media has an incredible advantage over national media because you see everything when you're local and you can put it into better context. So we know that Perdomo yesterday, or I should say 2 days ago, game 1 in this series against Milwaukee, he gets hit by a pitch on the hand, comes back in his next at-bat and gets a base hit with a throbbing hand. The hand swells. He strikes out 3 times for the first time since last year in a game, but then gets a hit to close the gap near the end of the game 2 nights ago. So hit by a pitch, game 1 on Monday. Then 3 strikeouts on Tuesday, but a hit to end it. And then yesterday, he fouls a ball off his foot, his big toe, which, gosh, it feels like I have done it. And it feels like somebody literally took a hammer and just hit you on the toe on it. And you're like, who the, and you want to cuss like crazy. And you realize that was just a ball. And it's like, oh my gosh, does that hurt? And then he goes yard. So all of these bumps and bruises, and yet he's still not only succeeding, he's exaggeratingly great. Here's his August right now. Okay, it's August 28th. Remember slash line. 300, 400, 500 is elite. These just aren't elite numbers. He's borderline 4, 5, 6, not just 3, 4, 5. Batting 366, 478 on base, 591 slug. And throw in 8 stolen bases and stellar defense. It's just crazy, the numbers he's putting up. And overall, he's 14th best in the National League in batting average. And he's 12th in RBIs. Think about this. When I say he's 12th in RBIs, he's tied for 109th place in home runs. So it's not like like the guys that are ahead of him in RBIs, they're crushing the baseball and getting their RBIs and home runs. He's putting the ball in play in clutch situations and knocking guys in. And he's a sack fly king. And he's got 87 RBIs. A 900 OPS is elite. He's at 851 for the season. If the Diamondbacks were doing anything this year, he is top 3 in the MVP voting. Because to play that position at shortstop, put up that numbers and be that clutch, it's just phenomenal. The year that he's having right now. I'm going to play this for you from Torey Lovullo, which is actually hilarious. So after Perdomo hits the solo homer, he gets back to the plate and he says something to the catcher. So he goes into the dugout and he's explaining the story of what happened. The pitcher kept throwing sliders and Perdomo swung and missed one, fouled a bunch off, and he told the catcher, okay, you may have beaten me with that slider once, but you're not gonna strike me out with it. And what does Contreras do? He calls for the slider. Boom, home run. What does that do to a dugout? When you talk that way and then back it up while you're playing hurt, like there's nothing more you ask of a baseball player, of a leader of a team than that. That's the kind of story where a team seriously considers putting the captaincy on his jersey next year and saying, you know what, let's raise every player in this organization to say, be like him. Which sadly to me is the opposite of Ketel Marte.
That's a good story. He comes in the dugout and shares, because I saw him talking and I was listening to him, what was being said. And he told him, he said, you got me to swing at that pitch, you're not going to get me out with it. And he ends up hitting a home run on it. So that's somebody that's very confident and comfortable knowing who he is and what his swing is going to do on a certain pitch at a certain time.
Couple plays in this game to talk about. You couldn't help but shake your head if you were watching it. The new third base coach got Pavin Smith thrown out at the plate. And then even more interestingly, Pavin Smith got a base hit in his next time up. And then he could barely get to first after feeling a tightness in his quad. So you can't help but wonder, okay, Pavin's trying to score from second. He gets thrown out at the plate. Did he hurt himself trying to get there? And if you're Bogar, you're saying, yeah, he must have hurt himself. That's why he got thrown out. He would have been safe if he didn't get hurt. And then if you're anti-Bogar, you're probably saying, you got him hurt. He would have been fine if you would have just held him at third. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite here when I critique Bogar, because I didn't like the send. But I want to explain it and be fair, is that in that situation, when ADC gets the hit, ADC put him on second. So he's standing on second and Alec Thomas is up. Okay. With Thomas up, you're thinking, how many outs are there? Okay, there's 2 outs. All right. Who's on deck? That's Ildemaro Vargas. Okay, Vargas has 5 RBIs on the year. It's a low total because he missed a good chunk of time after fouling a ball off his foot and breaking a toe or a part of his foot. And Vargas wasn't even on the team coming out of camp. So Vargas is not an RBI machine. He's had some clutch hits this year, but he's not an RBI machine. So with a non-RBI machine, the number 9 hitter in the lineup and 2 outs, you are thinking, while Alec Thomas is batting, I'm going to be aggressive, I'm going to be aggressive, I'm going to be aggressive. And I want to be fair. I want you to hear that as soon as that ball is hit, the correct thought is already, I'm going to be aggressive, I'm going to be aggressive, I'm going to be aggressive. What bothers me then is the actual play. The ball's hit to left field, so therefore it's an easier throw home, and the timing was off. A good gauge is where is the ball as you approach third base. Like when you're about 2 steps away from third base, where is the ball? If the cutoff man is in the situation of getting ready to catch it, you got to hold him. If the left fielder is throwing through, which they normally do with 2 outs, you normally throw through. With less than 2 outs, you still throw through if you're confident you can get him, but you still have to throw it through the cutoff man. If he doesn't cut it, he doesn't cut it. But you throw it to the cutoff man because that might keep the double play in effect. It's a way to say, you know what, I'm going to give you this run, but we're going to keep you out of the big inning by cutting the ball off and make sure no other runners advance. But with 2 outs, you pretty much throw through. And Yelich had a little bit of a rainbow, but he had something on it. And I guarantee you Bogar is thinking, Yelich is a DH now. And he's out there, we're going to run on that arm. So every aspect of the play is be aggressive, be aggressive, be aggressive. Even that it's hit to Yelich, the left fielder, but like I said before, it is left field, which is an easier throw. So you take all that into account, that you're going to be aggressive. And I want to underline that 9 million times to be fair to him for getting a guy thrown out, because you're thinking about being aggressive. Can you see I'm stalling? The reason why is I just want to be fair. But oh my gosh, he was out by a mile. Like, what are you doing? Like, I get all of the things I explained. All of the things I just explained. But when you see Yelich has the ball in plenty of time, I don't care what you think of his arm. You got to stop Pavin Smith right there. Pavin Smith is not a burner. Know your runner. It wasn't close enough to justify sending him. If it was bang, bang, I got to tell you, I am defending Bogar like crazy. And I would have sat up on Twitter and everybody that ripped Bogar, I would have said, hey, you're wrong. That's a good send. He was thrown out. I don't care. It's a good send. How can it be a good send when he's thrown out? It was a good send. I would be right there defending Bogar. He was out by 3 steps. It wasn't even close. Like, it was not close. And you could see it wasn't going to be close. That's my beef with it. I get you're trying to be aggressive. All of the thought process was correct except for one thing. It wasn't close. You can't send him. You got to stop him. I know it sounds dumb when you're talking about a third base coach to say it wasn't a mental error, it was a physical error. That sounds ridiculous. Of course it's a mental error you're thinking about. But I do want to clarify that it wasn't a mistake from what you should have been thinking ahead of the play. But it was a terrible mistake during the play to botch that. Other than that, it was a very, very well-played game. There's a bad relay on a play at third. I thought Perdomo didn't get himself lined up well. That allowed a runner to go second to third. I thought in the ninth inning, there was a double or a single that was trying to be stretched into a double, and Gurriel played it perfectly and gunned him out at second. And I would even like to say, I'm not sure if Marte's in the game if there's an out at second. Marte is not good at catching the ball and placing the tag down. Too many guys have been able to slide around the tag, or he tries to mix in a little flair and doesn't get the tag down correctly. Vargas made sure you're not touching second base. And I forgot who it was. I'm so sorry. Do you mind if I cheat and look at my sheet? It was, Monasterio. He did a slide. He tried a swim move. He dove head first, realized the throw beat him, and he tried to pick up his arm and keep it away from being tagged, and then swim his left arm in there around the tag. When Vargas reached to tag the right hand and realized the right hand wasn't there, Vargas was so aggressive, even though he's falling down, he lunged into Monasterio's chest and just drilled him in the chest with the tag. And it's funny, if you watch it in slow motion, it shows you how high level these athletes are, because you see him try to pull the right hand. Then you see him start to reach with the left. Then you see him get drilled in the chest, and his facial expression changes as he's getting tagged. As he's getting tagged, it's, oh no, that didn't work. And you just see the grimace on his face, and he doesn't get to the base. All of that happens in a split second. But it was primarily because of the route Gurriel took to the ball. The fastest route to the ball is a straight line, but that would then mean he has to backhand it. As a right-handed player playing left field, your glove is on the center field side of your body. So you run to the ball in a straight line. Now you've got to reach across your body, backhand it, bring it up to your body, and then throw. What Gurriel did is he ran the perfect route, like in football, a little bit of a circle route, a little bit, in order to make sure that he's attacking the ball on the glove side and not attacking the ball on the bear side. If you this is really getting down and dirty and somewhat boring, but if you run at the ball on the bare hand side, unless you're barehanding it, you've got to reach across your body. You're actually taking your body away from your target. And then the rest of your body is not into the throw because you're throwing across your body. However, if you attack the ball on your glove side, now you're scooping it up and in one motion bringing it to your hand. Of course, I'm doing the motion for you here in studio, but you bring the ball up to your right hand, and now you're throwing with your momentum towards second base. The only thing you need to worry about is an overthrow, because you can really launch it when you do that if you're out of control. And that starts with the way you attack the ball from the second the ball is hit. And this is where I've been losing my mind all year at the lack of focus. If you're not focused, you might hustle and get the ball, but you get it on your backhand, and now he just barely gets in safe. And everybody talks about what a great play it was, man, great double, and nobody looks at the outfielder and says, wait a minute, why didn't you throw him out? And that's what they were doing at the beginning of the season. The level of competition you have to be at mentally, that as soon as he hits that ball, you're thinking, I'm not letting him go to second. This is how I'm playing it. You have to do that mentally the second the ball gets through the infield.
I mean, you've got to, I probably even sooner than that, to be honest, to make sure you round off your route, not so much that you're late to the ball, but not so sharp that you're attacking it on your bear side. I thought it was perfect. Now I'm doing a 4-minute explanation of one ground ball into the left fielder, but it changed everything. That's the tying run in scoring position with one out if Gurriel doesn't make that play. Instead, not only are there 2 outs and nobody on, but your reliever is pumped. Torrey brought him in for a 5-out save. And now your closer feels zero pressure. And he got a 285 hitter to strike out looking. There's no way that happens if there's a runner on second. There's no way he's that locked in. Sal Frank was jacked up, no pressure, boom, and it turns into a quote-unquote 1-2-3 inning because of the out at second, even though there was a base hit. Here's what Torey Lovullo said that really grabbed him for the entire game.
We're fighting every single day, and it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. These guys want to win baseball games, and that's all we talk about here. We talk about execution. We talk about readiness. You don't know when it's going to happen. The ball in the 9th inning, Lourdes makes a perfect throw. I see them working on that situationally in pregame, and when you practice those things and it comes up and you execute it, it's like it was a proud dad out there. Things happen really, really well for us to win this baseball game.
It would be amazing to earn a split. Brewers are the best team in baseball. You win today, you split the series. That's impressive. Do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. You got Chris Matt on the mound, a guy that's bounced around the majors a little bit, and you had your starting pitching blown up in the first 2 games of the series. I think the Brewers are winning today, but gosh, what a change in momentum to go to LA with a split and a 2-game winning streak, and you take on the Dodgers. And then it becomes kind of like a who knows. Can you actually take 2 of 3 in Dodger Stadium? And then there's, I hate to say it, I don't want to get anybody excited, because admittedly, I'm not excited. But that's serious momentum to take on the best team in Major League Baseball and the 4th best team in the National League and carry that into a 4-3 road trip, which is what it would be if you take 2 out of 3. That's the type of thing that changes a season. It really does. Now, do I think no, I don't think it's going to happen. Diamondbacks are 7.5 out. They got passed by the Giants yesterday, as the Giants are on a 4-game winning streak. So the Diamondbacks are tied with the Cardinals, so they have to break that tie with the Cardinals. They have to leapfrog the Giants, then the Reds, then the Mets. And they have to do that 7.5 games back with what? I don't know what the math is, but I'm going to ballpark it and say they've probably got about 26 games left. Okay, now it's going to kill me. I got to do the math here. What are they? I'm going to cheat. They're 65 and 69. Add those together. That's normally about 134. 162 minus 134. 28. So 28 games left. Do you want to? Okay, let's do the magic number. Okay, you start with 163 games because you have to be at a point where they've run out of games. So it's 163 minus the games played by the Mets. And the Mets have played, the Mets are 72 and 61. So that would be 73. That would be 133. So that means they've got 30 games. No, they got 130. Yeah, 133. Okay, yeah, but that's 30. I was like, wait a minute. They got 162 and blah, blah, blah. But no. So that's a 30 because it's minus 163. 163 minus 133. Did I lose you already? So that's a 30.
And then they've got 61 losses. The Diamondbacks have 69. So you subtract 8 from 30 because you got to have the gap of the loss column. That's 8. So that means the magic number to eliminate the Diamondbacks from the wild card stands at 22 for the Mets to eliminate them. That probably wasn't worth all that, was it? I can't stand not knowing something, so I got to figure it out. That's just a personality quirk that is usually a good thing for us. And this time it was not a good thing for us that you had to sit and listen to 5 minutes of math. How exciting was that? Okay, my bad. You don't have to write me on Town Hall Tuesday about that one if you don't want to. I know that was my bad. All right, coming up next, Cardinals cut down day and the fluidity of the roster on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass.
Here is Sue Rigler talking about game day at 100 Mile Brewing Company.
Game day here at 100 Mile Brewing is less than a mile away from ASU. So game day, we have the hockey game at Mullet. We've got basketball at Desert Financial, and we have football at Sun Devil Stadium. We have free parking, and you can actually even walk over. We've got a parking garage with 8 floors, so we'll never run out of parking, and it's free. So it's always a buzz and fun to watch the games here.
100 Mile Brewing Company. Fresh. It never gets old.
Still got a lot to do Cardinals-wise. So, if you've ever wondered how the process works, 1 o'clock on Tuesday, you got to have your roster trimmed to 53. You release guys. They can be picked up by anybody. If they get picked up on waivers, then their contract is also picked up by the team. So you got to pay them exactly what their contract says. If nobody claims them, then they're a free agent and they can sign with anybody they want. However, some teams will offer you a spot on the 53-man roster for less than what you were making. And other teams are going to say, no, we'll pay you what what the going rate is for your years of service, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, whatever. But we're just going to put you on the practice squad. We're not offering you a spot. Do you want it? Clayton Tune and DJ Dallas both left. I think Clayton Tune realized it was time for a fresh start. I think he's right. There's an advantage to staying because you know the offense. But I think he did not have a good preseason. And if he was doing well, they wouldn't have brought in Jacoby Brissett. So I think it's a good move for him to leave. His agent probably did him well. So he goes to Green Bay. DJ Dallas has got to be thinking, if I couldn't make the team now when I had a good return, then I got to get going. And going to the Panthers is brilliant because they're bad at everything. So you got a much better chance to play. The rest of the practice squad is exactly who you want. And I need to recant a little bit. Simi Fehoko and Michael Carter, 2 guys that I thought should have been on the roster, both cleared waivers, and they're both back on the practice squad. That is total proof Monty Williams, go Suns. That is proof that Monty Ossenford got it exactly right. When the 2 main guys everybody's asking why weren't they on the team are back on the team. I mean, the rest of us that were whining, we couldn't be more wrong when you were able to re-sign them. Of course, Jonathan Gannon pulling the heartstrings at the beginning of his press conference.
Toughest part about the business, obviously, because a lot of guys put a lot of work into, and we like all these guys, but just unfortunately can't keep everybody. So we try to do the best we can with the 53 and then with the practice squad. A lot of moving parts, obviously. I would say this, it's the roster, just like all other 32 teams, is very fluid, especially the first, week or two. So it's probably not going to look like the same as it does right now in a couple days or even going into week 1. So, but again, appreciate all those guys and some tough conversations, but feel good about where we're at right now, and we're going to get on the grass and have a good, fast, competitive, spirited practice.
Let me continue my admittance that I was dead wrong. There are two players that you could argue, and obviously every spot on the 53-man roster is the reason why that Michael Carter and Simi Fehoko did not make the team. But there were two names in particular. It really shocked me that Bam made the team over Michael Carter. Didn't shock me necessarily that Carter didn't make it, but it shocked me that Bam did and Carter didn't. So Coach was asked, what is it that you saw in Bam? Why are you keeping him?
Throughout the course of training camp, he does what he's coached to do. He's a good runner. I like where he's at on fourth down. So his role is, kind of still being defined as we speak, putting everybody together and things like that. But he did a lot of good things. We felt really good about keeping him.
Now, I can understand if Jonathan Gannon's listening right now, how frustrated he would be with a member of the media putting words in his mouth. He didn't say anything about Michael Carter. He's talking about why Bam is on the team. And that's it. But you couldn't help but think of Michael Carter, and maybe these are the things Michael Carter is not doing, or things Michael Carter is not doing. And that's because of this. Do you remember Michael Carter? He was the one earlier in the week when we were playing his sound, and he laughed about an assistant coach saying where to run. And what they do is they sit in the dark and tell you what you did wrong when they're not out there. So that's his opinion of an assistant coach. And that yet Jonathan Gannon, when talking about Bam, immediately says as the first thing, he does what he's coached to do. Okay. I mean, how does that not register in your head of that's why? Then he says Bam he likes where he is on fourth downs, meaning his special teams work. Michael Carter is not on special teams. So the two main reasons why you don't keep Michael Carter, I would say one is definitely special teams. Two is speculation. He says this is the role of the assistant coach, makes me believe he doesn't always listen to the assistant coach, and Bam, Knight makes the team and he doesn't. Could be reaching there. I could be reaching a little bit, but I don't think I am. Another name I was shocked that made the team was Josh Fryer over Simi Fehoko. Now, to be absolutely clear, that'll sound weird at first because they play two completely different positions, and I realize that. But sometimes when it comes down to the end, you are competing against people at a different position. And my opinion was they weren't going to keep that many offensive linemen at the risk of losing Fehoko. I thought that would be a mistake. And they decided, no, we're going to keep Josh Fryer. We're going to keep that many offensive linemen, because obviously when you do that, you're saying, we think Fryer not only did well enough that he can help us, but he did well enough that if we cut him, there's a better chance someone will pick him up than they'll pick up Fehoko. And man, if that's the case, Monti nailed it again to be able to say we kept the right guy. Now, we're never going to know if you would have cut Fryer, whether or not he would still be available on the practice squad. But that's an important note. So Coach was asked, what is it about Fryer? When was it that you kind of noticed we've got something here?
Probably OTAs, honestly, even without pads, just from mentally what we asked those guys to do. It was never too big for him. He always kind of was, he never really never really got sped up with pre-snap rules and assignments, things like that. And then he goes out and blocks his guy, so that's valuable. And the other thing about Josh is he can play a bunch of spots, so that's also valuable as well. But I'm glad we have him here. He's done a really good job.
They deserve some credit here, and it's interesting. In the offseason, they hired Justin Fry, who was the offensive line coach at Ohio State. And I want to be, I don't know if this is fair. I want to repeat my opinion just in case it blows up in my face and I need to eat it. But I didn't like the hire, and I don't know the man at all. And sometimes that's kind of an ignorant opinion to say, well, I don't like it, even though I don't know him. But to me, it seemed cheap when you're reaching to the college ranks to find your line coach, like you don't want to pay top dollar for one. And whenever you get one from the college ranks, it's always going to be cheaper. And if we were talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, if we're talking about a team that spends whatever it takes to win, I would be all for it, because I'd be thinking, oh, your reputation is you'll do whatever it takes to win. Clearly, that's the guy. When you have the reputation as one of, not the cheapest owners in the NFL, but one of, there will never be a day that Michael Bidwill is worse than the Brown family with the Bengals. But when you have an ownership that always finds way to cut costs versus winning, and then they go after a college line coach, my bells and whistles go off. Like, okay, there's something crappy here. But maybe I'll have to recant, because I definitely have to if he does a good job. But the other reason is Josh Fryer is an undrafted free agent out of Ohio State. There's no doubt his offensive line coach had to be heavily involved in the recruiting to get him to become an Arizona Cardinal. And then whenever you make it as an undrafted free agent, that's just awesome. Nobody, all 32 teams basically said, you're not good enough to be an NFL player. And you proved them all wrong by making a roster. I don't care whose roster you made. Those are always great stories when that happens. And if he turns into something, it's a massive recantation by me, because not only was I against that offensive line coach hire, but that coaching hire is probably why Fryer even got here. And clearly, if he plays well, he's an NFL player. Okay, the last one is, it wasn't somebody that I was against making the team, but I think at the beginning of training camp, there weren't a lot of people that thought he would. And that is Mustipher.
The biggest jump when we left here in January, we had a good conversation of what it looks like for him, what he needs, physically, what he needed to do. And he's a guy that put a lot into that. He took that to heart, and I wanted him to change his body comp a little bit, and he worked with Evan and Shay and the performance staff every day. He was a guy that I know we talked about on July 4th, but he really got himself in better shape. His body comp's better. And then from a technical standpoint, he really developed, consistent technique, and he played really good football, so that's a credit to him and Debo and everybody. With performance psych, he put a lot into that bucket, and he got better at that. So really happy for him, but he earned his spot. There's no doubt.
Those are also great stories to be able to tell the rest of the team. He didn't make the team last year. Here's the exit interview conversation. Makes the team this year. You're going to sell that big time to lift the spirits of the guys that aren't on the team, but also explain what needs to be done and to encourage people to do it, because not everybody will do it. And now you have the proof, hey, this is what happens when you do it. I think that's good. Two other things to play for you that aren't Jonathan Gannon, but that are Cardinals related that I think you're going to like. Jonah Williams signed from the Bengals, plays a couple games last year, I think 6, gets hurt, done for the year. He's back, and was asked about the comparison between the 2024 O-line that he started with at the beginning and the 2025 offensive line that he's with right now. I think this is powerful because this could go a long way in helping Kyler.
I mean, we've had a lot of continuity through camp thus far. We've had pretty much the same one group all of camp. I think the biggest difference from last year to this year is just the step that Isaiah has taken. He's been phenomenal all of camp, and he was good last year, but he's a rookie. His head's still spinning a little bit, but now he's very confident in the system, and he's been playing lights out. So I think he's a big addition to our line.
Reason why I like that one so much is that's totally unprompted. What's the difference? And he goes right to Isaiah Adams. That's the difference. Rest of us are the same dudes. We're all going to be a tiny bit better, tiny bit older. That guy's the difference. So I love that. The next one is Darius Robinson, last year's first round pick. And if you haven't figured me out yet, if somebody asks a question that's regarding Calais Campbell or is to Calais Campbell, I'm always going to be interested in what you say. So somebody asked D-Rob about what is it that Calais is probably working on with you the most or talking to you the most about? Is it, hand placement? Is it get off? Is it batting balls down? And D-Rob went somewhere that none of us expected. I don't want to act like I was there. Again, I always get the Cardinal sound from, and you can listen to the whole thing. All the press conferences are on their YouTube page and on their website at azcardinals.com. So I want to give them the free plug since I'm using their sound. But D-Rob went somewhere where I don't think anybody in the media expected. And it was so obvious we should have, because we're talking about Calais Campbell.
I'd probably say leadership. Honestly, he's definitely pulled me to the side and definitely took me under his wing, and thinking about being that guy for your team and what does it look like and the responsibilities of being a leader, just everything. So it's just for me, just following his lead and just realize it's really a marathon. Some advice he told me, his best years he felt was later down the road, but he was each year he just kept doing more and more and more. When he finally realized how it was, then he understood it. So I feel for me, I'm not so pressed about this year I have to do this or do this. I just focus on each day. If I just put my all into it, the outcome is going to be what it's going to be, and I'm excited about that because I know what I'm putting into it. So honestly, leadership is the big thing that Calais has been teaching me. Honestly,
how does he deliver that? Is he always kind of good guy, uncle guy, or is he can get sharp?
Calais can get a little hot sometimes, but he means love. When he's talking to me, he'll grab me and be like, D-Rob, no, think about it this or this, and then I'll think about it and I'm okay, maybe I see where you're coming from. But and one thing, he's really he's brutally honest, really brutally honest. So we watch a tape and I'd be like, Calais, I think right there I would've. He would just be like, no, or something like that. And but that's the thing about pass rush and just playing ball. It's crazy to think how many snaps you have versus how many wins you can get, what a successful season looks like. So just focus one day at a time.
That tells me two things. When you talk about somebody else's brutal honesty, but you say it jokingly and with respect, that actually tells me a lot about you. Because you're not offended by it, you're listening to it, and you're getting better. That takes a very strong person. If you can handle the brutal honesty from somebody else in the matter that D-Rob seemed to take it, then that shows me you have an insatiable desire to get better, and therefore you're not offended by the brutal honesty. You're not running from the brutal honesty. You're not only accepting the brutal honesty, but you're appealing to it. You want it. You're asking for more of it because you know that's the way to get better. I didn't know that about D-Rob. That's cool. And I say that meaning personality-wise, that he notices that in somebody else, but respects it. That's a very good thing. Let's do some odds and ends. Some odds and ends. Some odds and ends. I don't have a lot of music to play for you. I don't want to heavily produce this, but there's a lot of things that are happening
that I just want to go over real quick. One is the Suns are getting sued. This is a very strange lawsuit. There were 16 people that owned a piece of the Suns when Robert Sarver sold. 14 of the 16 sold. Two guys, Andy Kohlberg and Scott Selden, did not sell, and now they're suing Matt Ishbia. Both sides claim something a little different. These two guys claim that they have been asking for access to internal records that they're entitled to as owners. And basically, according to reports, they're questioning the spending of the $100 million to build a Mercury practice facility. So they're not happy about that. Yet the report also says that one of the two was in negotiations to sell his remaining shares of the team to Matt Ishbia. But he wanted the team to be evaluated at a $6 billion price, when just a couple years ago they were sold for $4 billion. Well, prices have clearly gone up when you look at the sales of other teams, but at the same time, it was only a couple years ago. So it's probably not $6 billion. It's got to be somewhere in the middle. Well, in the discussions about how much more the cost has inflated that Ishbia needs to purchase from him, Ishbia then called for more capital from the owners, saying, okay, everybody owes more. So it's like, now, wait a minute. If we're trying to sell to you, I don't owe you money. And Ishbia says, hey, I'm not doing it for any other reason than it's time for the raise in capital. So they're arguing about the timing, and they're arguing about not being given the internal records. So that's why there's a lawsuit. No way to know who's right or wrong on this. But it is kind of a scary trend that it's another lawsuit against Matt Ishbia. So the guy that comes in riding on the white horse, I admit I was incredibly excited about having him here. But the moves he's made are highly questionable almost every step of the way. And here's appears to be another one. But honestly, I don't know enough to go after him. Number two topic, Matthew Caldwell. How bad do you want to be a CEO? Matthew Caldwell was the business operations president for one team. He left to sign a 10-year deal to be the CEO of another. Well, obviously, CEO sounds a lot better than business operations president. So at first, you're thinking that makes a lot of sense. But he left the Florida Panthers, Stanley Cup champions, no state income tax, and gorgeous weather to become the CEO of the Minnesota Lynx and T-Wolves. What? Man, how bad do you want to be a CEO when you're leaving champion, no state income tax, son, for a downtown that's got tunnels because it's so so cold? No way. Grimsby beat Man U yesterday. So, thing called League Cup, early season tournament. All four divisions are involved in the Premier League. So this Grimsby is the lowest division, and they beat Man U yesterday. Now, full disclosure, in a tournament like this, when you're playing a fourth division team, Man U is probably playing the worst starting lineup they have. It's like, we're playing all of our young guys. You should be good enough to beat a fourth division team on your own. And it's not a regular season game, so they don't care that much. Well, it ended up in a 2-2 draw. So since it's a tournament, it goes to PKs. And the Grimsby goalkeeper, Christy Pym, saved one, allowed 11 others to score. But the catch was Grimsby scored on all 12 of theirs. So Grimsby wins 12-11. They upset Man U. The funniest quote ever is from the goalie. He made the save. They win. He's part of the most historic win in the history of the franchise. And the goalie talks about the game and says, I'm a Man U fan, so I'm half fuming. I can't imagine you win a game
at that level. I mean, the only way to like truly explain it is imagine there's a game in which NAU beats the Cardinals. Seriously, NAU beats the Arizona Cardinals. And some kid born and raised in Tempe wasn't good enough for ASU, carries the team to victory over the Cardinals and says, man, I'm worried. I'm a Cardinals fan. We can't go losing to me. That's what happened in this game. GCU announces a deal with CBS 5, Arizona's Family, and 3TV, in which if a game is not already claimed by their conference partners, it can be shown locally here on one of the three channels, CBS 5, 3TV, and Arizona's Family. And then they do have another sports station that I don't remember what the number is. The reason why I'm bringing this up is CBS 5 is absolutely crushing it. They have Sons and Mercury on an over-the-air product. They have The Rising, and now they have GCU. That's a commitment to sports that is almost unheard of in local sports, in local programming. That is insane to have a university, a minor league team, and a major league team all on an over-the-air network. So congratulations to CBS 5 for being just that aggressive. And oh, by the way, Mark McClune, you need another sports guy. You need a morning sports show with all of these sports that you've got. And I know somebody. I know somebody. And the last one that I have to laugh at is this is a quote that I want to give you. Not normally do I read articles about music, but quote, I never liked film music very much. Film music, however good it can be, and it usually isn't, other than maybe an 8-minute stretch here or there. I just think the music isn't there in film music. That what we think of as this precious, great film music is we're remembering it in some kind of nostalgic way. Just the idea that film music has the same place in the concert hall as the best music in the canon is a mistaken notion. So basically, some guy is saying, quit thinking film music, it belongs in a symphony hall versus other kinds of music. Symphony, I mean, real classical music is always going to be better than film music, right? The guy that said that is John Williams. John Williams, the guy that wrote the music to Star Wars, Superman, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, Saving Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan, Home Alone, Jaws, E.T., a couple of Harry Potters, and even like that drum roll, that's the I can't do it in my head. The song to the Olympics, he wrote that too. That guy, like, think about that. Not just an occasional movie. Name the highest grossing movie. Yep, John Williams. Every time, John Williams. Everything not Marvel that's the highest grossing movies are John Williams. And then he's saying film music doesn't belong with everybody else. I thought that was fantastic. It's time for Versus Bagels. For the second day in a row, I'd like to ask, would you care to dance? Oh, yeah. Boy, when I wave my arms like that to clap, boy, does it smell. Yes, it does. Okay, let's get rolling. Here we go. We got 5 games. Well, why did I put the music down? Get it back up there. 5 games that I'm looking at. However, one's a total homer pick. So don't follow me on the homer pick. Yesterday, we went 3-1. Feel pretty good about it. Just got robbed with Tampa Bay. We took the Rays on the money line over Cleveland. And the Tribe won the Guardians won 4-3. So we missed that one. The other ones we got pretty good. Yankees -2 against Washington. Wish we would have bumped that up a little bit. I wanted to be safe and go -2. Boy, if we would have went -3.5, we would have had not double our money, but close. Yankees win 11-2 in that one. We took Boston on the money line. They held on and won 3-2 over Baltimore. And we took the Astros with an extra little trinket there at -2.5. And we got that right, too. Astros won 4-0. So we go 3-1 on the day, and the record jumps up to 17-13 and 16-11. So we feel good. All right. Here we got tonight. Oh, yeah. O, H. Oh, wait, let me start it again. O, H, I. It's hard to do with other music in my ear. I can't find the rhythm. O-H-I-O, O-H-I-O, O. We are not upsetting Rutgers, but we are not getting beat by 15.5 points. That's too much. We're getting a backdoor cover here. Bobcats down by 17, score a touchdown when Rutgers doesn't care. No, we'll even make it worse. Down by 21, and the Bobcats score a touchdown when Rutgers doesn't care. And we miss the extra point, but still lose by 15, but we got 15.5 points, and we cover. Yes, we do. So Bobcats plus the 15.5. My more real picks, Akron is a disaster always. And they host Wyoming, and Wyoming's not good, but they've got to cover 5.5, and Akron's terrible. So we're going to take Wyoming winning by 10 and comfortably covering against Akron. Baseball-wise, we're going to, go for blood money. I'm going to take Milwaukee on the run line minus the 1.5. I think they're just way too good to have a young, almost already journeyman pitcher be able to shut them down. We'll take the Brew Crew minus the 1.5. Houston, we still get okay juice, minus 120 if we take them at minus 1.5 against the Rockies in the finale. That seems like an easy one. Let's run to the bank on that one. This one might be another one you want to ignore. I'm going to take Atlanta and Philly to go over the 9.5. 9.5 is a very high total for a non-Colorado game. But I just look at that pitching matchup and I say, people are going to rake. People are going to rake. So we're going to go over the 9.5, but that's such a high number. I can see you skipping out on the Bobcats and the Atlanta Phillies game. But I think if you go with Wyoming, Milwaukee, and the Wyoming, the Brewers, and the Astros all covering, I think you're going to have a good day. Sound credits today. I got all the Jonathan Gannon, Robinson, and Jonah Williams from the Arizona Cardinals YouTube channel, or you can go to azcardinals.com. I got the sound from Sal Frank for 4-Minute Offense and the Torey Lovello sound, both from D-Backs TV. And I don't know if you can get it from dbacks.com or not. I didn't check, but I got it straight off the television broadcast. So thanks to them. But I have expressed verbal, what is it? This broadcast on the authority of the listening audience and a publication report has to reach and submission of the use of descriptions and accounts of this game without the expressed written. So I have the expressed verbal consent to do it. We'll see if I still keep that after getting scolded. What else? Sorry that I'm fading. All of a sudden it hit me that I'm tired and it's 5:08 in the morning. I don't know why it just hit me like a ton of bricks and I'm flaming out. There's had to be more. Oh, I got ASU. I got Kenny Dillingham from Sun Devil Source. And I got Desiree Reed-Francois from the YouTube page directly from the University of Arizona, from the Arizona Wildcats YouTube page. That does it for today's version of Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. Sorry about the flame out and some of the strange tangents today. I'm going to be at 100 Mile Brew tomorrow for Beer Friday. Love to get a beer with you. I'll be available at about 1 o'clock. But again, I have no idea if I'm actually getting a beer with you or you're getting beer and I'm getting water. I'll let you know. But I will be there. I will be hanging out at 1 o'clock right after the VABC meeting. Burrito Express has locations all across the east side and coming to a Circle K near you. Best breakfast burrito you've ever had. I had a great one the other day, and just thinking about it is making me hungry. Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. And I already said 100 Mile Brew. Parker & Sons, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical. 602-2 Repair. That's 602, the number 2. Then REPAIR for Parker & Sons. And Trophy has the best rigatoni of any sports bar in the history of the planet. But they've also got really good pizza. And I don't want to say this in front of Sue at 100 Mile Brew, because A Mountain Amber Ale is the best beer in the state. But Trophy has a thing called Toasted Amber that's pretty good. I wish they would take it out for A Mountain Amber Ale, but the Toasted Amber is pretty good beer. And Bell's Nashville Kitchen, located on Main Street, Old Town Scottsdale, just off of Scottsdale Road. The best sandwich in Arizona is the Nashville Hot Chicken Sandwich. The jambalaya, though, is fantastic. I'm not really I'm a fish guy if it's fried fish, but I tell you, anybody that gets the salmon there, like, again, I'm not a salmon guy, I'm not someone to talk about it, but anybody who gets a salmon there just raves about it. I know you're not thinking, I'm going to go to a country bar and get salmon. And then when you get the blackened salmon, you're like, I'm going to start coming back here for the blackened salmon. At least that's other people. And then, of course, Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass, home of the $100 round of golf, wings, nachos, and 2 hours to sit there and do your fantasy draft. If you haven't scheduled it, hurry up and do it. If you decide to do it on Labor Day or next week, it's only $75. Boy, that's brilliant. Per person, of course. I'm ready to go to bed. I like today's show, though. Thanks for being a part of it. See you, Al.
Doug, thank you so much. My best to your listeners, and keep up the work on Doug French Unplugged.